Hello and welcome, everyone. This is a channel where we like to talk about writing, learning, and creating. Today, I'm coming at you with another writing-based video. I am Slegaitis-Smith, and let's pop into it. We are going to be talking about round characters today and why everybody wants them in their stories and why everyone says you should have round characters over flat characters. Once again, we're going to be looking at a bunch of different examples, one from literature, one from TV/movies, and one from video games, in order to see how some people have applied the idea of round characters in order to help us to develop our own round character building skills. The first character we're going to talk about is Susan Pevensie. She has a background that we get to be a part of when the setting is first introduced. We get to see a little bit of her life before the story really gets started, the fact that she lived in England, and the reasons why she ended up having to go with her family out into the countryside, which in turn leads her to going to Narnia. She has very strong traits of gentleness and kindness, which make her a very likable character and pretty realistic. When she is in Narnia, she learns how she can kick butt when she needs to, even though gentleness and kindness remain her default. She also ends up becoming an excellent ruler, which kind of goes along with the fact that she was always a motherly figure to begin with in the story. Hiccup Haddock is a lovable, awkward, and a little bit dorky character. He is very easy to relate to right from the beginning, even though we don't live in his world, because of the fact that he has these awkward traits. He goes through a lot of growth, going from being a kid who's trying to prove himself to a brave leader who is willing to risk it all for what he sees as being right. Final Fantasy, as a series, has a lot of great characters. Tifa is certainly one of them. We slowly get her backstory over the course of Final Fantasy VII. We also get let in on her motivations, which is close to spoiler territory, so I won't get into it too much. But she does classify as being a round character because of the fact that she has these backstory elements. She has motivations for her own reasons for participating in the plot line, and we do get to see her grow and change over the course of that story. Okay, so now that we're done looking at some examples about what round characters look like, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how to make your own round characters, because they are by far the more preferred type of character to show up in your novel, video game, movie, whatever your cup of tea is. Whatever it is, round characters are usually preferred because they are the ones that are the most human-like. I mean, think about the other humans in your life. And even if you're a massive introvert like me, there are other humans in your life. What is it about them that makes them human to you? One, they have a past. Before they met you, they had a whole life, even if you didn't get to experience it. Even if they never tell you what happened to them in their history, they still have it. And that is why it's important to think about the history of your round characters, giving them a hometown, giving them a family, a place to live. And just like how the real person in your life doesn't have to tell you what happened in their past, you don't have to tell the reader what happened in your character's past. But it is really useful for you as a creator, as a writer, to know this information for yourself. For me, one way that I do that is this guy. This is my stories binder. It's a little huge. That's because it not only has stories that I've written all the way back to middle school, but also, hitting myself in the face with it. Also, it has all sorts of background information about different characters that I've written, particularly main characters, in order to help me to know information. Most of this is not going to show up in my novel. This is over a novel by itself. It's not going to happen. And it doesn't need to happen. I'm going to tuck this guy on the floor. Hang on. Whew. It doesn't need to happen, but it is important to know to help make a round character. What is another thing that a real human has versus a character? the good to bad ratio. Now, this is where people like to talk about the flaws that a character should have. And your character does need flaws, but the ratio of lack of flaws to flaws is going to be highly dependent on what the demographic you're aiming for is. For instance, if you're doing middle grade / YA, you're gonna probably want a few less big flaws than if you're writing for an older audience. And one of the reasons for that is taste related, and one of them is PG related, because it's really easy when you think, I must give my character a flaw. What should I give them? To go to some really dark places. Let me be the one to tell you. Flaws don't have to be really crazy. There can be really normal flaws too. For instance, as someone who is a huge introvert, I have a massive uncomfortableness with being in crowded places and with being with large groups of people and talking in front of large groups of people. But I'm also a teacher. So I have this flaw that goes into my character as a human being of not liking to talk in front of people, but yet I purposefully ignore the fact that that is a facet of myself and do it literally every single day of my life. And now I'm doing it on the internet too. Absolutely terrifying. But it is not some earth-shattering dark flaw. So you don't need to necessarily go all dark and sad in order for your character to have flaws. However, if you are going for adult fiction, right now there's a huge shift towards having super dark characters. Part of that is some of the anti-hero movement, which is really interesting, and I would love to talk about anti-heroes at another point. But because of the fact that for the longest time, we had this long history of heroes and villains being the heroes are 100% good and the villains are 100% bad. And it's really easy to tell who is who because the good guy is good and the bad guy is bad. And people realize that's not how real human beings are. And so more and more flaws have been shoved into the good guy in order to make them more human. So when you're creating your round character, you do need to put some flaws in them. They do not have to be overwhelming the amount of good characteristics they have in order to make them realistic. Because you are not as bad as you think you are. Other people are not as bad as you think they are. There is some good still left in the world. There are some people who definitely could fit into the category of having more dark characteristics or flaws than others. It's perfectly fine to write a few characters like that, but don't make all of your characters like that because no 1-2 people is the same. No 1-2 characters are the same. So keep that in mind when you're making your flaw to positive characteristic ratios. Who is your target demographic? Where are you fitting inside of the tropes that are coming out in each of those demographics? And how realistic is your character actually being by having that ratio of positive traits to flaws? So, what else makes a round character round? Well, what else makes a human human? Relationships! Actually build relationships for them. And this doesn't just mean the romantic kind. We all love to go to the romantic kind of relationship, but yeah, all have more than one type of relationship. There are friendship relationships, family type relationships, romantic type of relationships, antagonistic relationships. There are all sorts of relationship types out there, and your character is allowed to enjoy every single one of them as long as you remember to create them. If you have any more suggestions, or if you would like more in-depth suggestions about round characters, I would be more than happy to provide them for you. I'm not going to go too crazy into it on this video because, honestly, there's a lot of material out there about how to make round characters. You can even go online and find some character sheets to fill out that will literally go through every single piece of information you could possibly want to know about a person to help direct you. But if you do want to know more, leave it in the comment section. If you have some good suggestions, leave it in the comment section. If you like hanging out on these videos, hit the subscribe and the bell button. And, as always, I will see you in the next one.